This course introduces learners to the methods and systems needed for front office operations and administration. It offers an outline of the supervisory aspects and functions of the front office department. Scholars will develop skills and knowledge in departmental techniques as well as comprehending the main regulation. Learning outcomes. On completion of study this course, learners will be able to demonstrate knowledge of the key functional areas of front office. Describe the activities and function of the cashiers, reception, and reservations departments. Analyze guest accounting methods. Review the utilization of reports, yield management and statistics and within the front office operation. Explain the significance of security and safety within rooms division containing key legislation for reception operations. Describe the main features of the communications services accessible to guests. Explain the function front office plays in selling hotel facilities and services. Module 1 Objectives. In this chapter you will learn to the front office operations organization structure, the significance of effective operations at front office, the responsibilities and role of front of house staff and departments, an overview of the guest cycle, departure, occupancy, arrival and pre-arrival, the role of property management system, how front-of-house departments communicate and liaise with other departments in the hotel. How hotels as well as other accommodation providers differ, in such a way as to necessitate diverse systems and procedures. In the hotel industry, the front office specifically refers to the area where customers first arrive at the hotel. This area is also called the reception area. A receptionist is typically employed to work in the front office. The role of a receptionist is to get in touch with the customers, confirm their reservation, and answer customers' questions. In a small hotel, functions of front office may be performed by one individual at a front desk or reception area, taking bookings, answering the switchboard, registration and welcoming guests, processing payment and billing and so on. In a big hotel, there might be separate departments dividing these responsibilities, including 1. Switchboard, taking and routing telephone calls. 2. Reservation, taking bookings. 3. Reception, or front office, registering and welcoming guests at the main reception desk. 4. Concierge, inquiries, answering visitors and guests' questions, handling mail and guest keys, perhaps also handling tour booking, car hire, as well as entertainment tickets for guests. 5. Billing office, preparing guests' bills and accounts. 6. Cashier, receiving guests' payments as well as currency exchange, processing other financial transactions. 7. Professional staff, valet parking, luggage porters, doormen, cloakroom attendants, lift attendants or garage attendants etc. Importance of front-of-house activities. Activities of front house are vital for numerous reasons such as front office may be the first contact prospective guest or a guest has with the hotel, in written, in person or by telephone. Aid individuals decide to whether to select the hotel or not, losing or winning a potential client. Influence everything else they think about the hotel. Due to what psychologists call the halo effect, a good first impression may predispose guests to think well of their rooms, the service they are given during their stay and so on. A bad first impression may put them on the alert for other bad signals, and incline them to find fault with everything else. Front office is the service hub of the hotel, the area where most transactions take place and guest contacts during their stay. Guests' experience of hotel service is, thus, mainly shaped by front office procedures and personnel. This is vital because the style and quality of service is a foremost factor in offering a relaxing, an enjoyable, satisfying experience for guests, which is, after all, the hotel's raison d'etre. Helping the hotel stand out from its competitors, which may have similar facilities and rooms. guaranteeing that guests will want to return again, and meanwhile, will offer a positive report of the hotel, recommend, to other persons. Hotels rely on this positive word-of-mouth promotion, and definitely don't want guests spreading negative reports, especially since the internet permits them to tell thousands of other travelers, in online hotel review sites or travel blogs, when they've had a bad or good experience. Front office has a special duty for dealing with guests' complaints and problems, the critical incidents which can make all the difference between dissatisfaction and satisfaction. Front office is the communications hub of the hotel. Information is exchanged by and with all other departments. If reception fails to tell housekeeping to make a room ready for arriving guests, or fails to relay a guest complaint about faulty air conditioning to the maintenance department, or fails to make a booking in the hotel restaurant for the guest, the system breaks down, and the guest is not served. Likewise, if reception fails to heed housekeeping's warning that a room needs repair or redecoration, or fails to add a dinner charge, sent through from the restaurant, to the guest's bill, the system fails. Front office is the administrative hub of the hotel, where reservations are logged, room allocations are planned, room status is monitored, guest bills are prepared, payments are processed, records are kept, information displays are maintained, etc. If all these tasks aren't carried out efficiently, the hotel would simply cease. Structure of organization. An ideal structure for a small hotel providing both catering and accommodation might be as illustrated in Figure 1.1. Staff members are likely to perform a variety of tasks within their general area. For example, the restaurant employee will also deliver room service and serve coffee and tea in the lounge. The receptionist will handle checkout and check-in, reservations, switchboard, billing and mail, etc. Assistant manager and manager will handle a variety of decision-making and administrative tasks, marketing, purchasing, and bookkeeping, etc. In a larger hotel, it is possible to organize staff into more clearly defined departments, each with a supervisor or department head. In a medium-sized hotel, or a manager, in a large hotel. There will also be more specialized staff, because the hotel can afford to employ more people, and there will be more work for each person to do. The main revenue-earning functions of the hotel are generally split into a rooms division, responsible for accommodation, and a food and beverages division, responsible for catering. In a medium-sized hotel, there might be a manager and one or more assistant managers, who supervise operations, probably on a shift basis, so that there is some managerial supervision 7 days per week. In a large hotel, there will be a general management team, responsible for planning and coordinating the business and operations of the hotel. Unlike the hands-on manager of a small hotel, the manager here is essentially a business manager, responsible for policy, planning and control. He may only rarely encounter guests or intervene in day-to-day hotel decisions. The duty manager as assistant managers at this level are often called, is the one with hands-on responsibility for dealing with guests, and resolving problems and queries referred by front office staff. A number of duty managers may be employed to cover a 24-hour roster, so there is always someone available to deal with guest issues. The things to notice about an organization chart. The branches of the chart show how roles and responsibilities are divided up into sections or departments. For example, the management of the hotel shown above is divided into 2 basic divisions, the rooms division and food and beverage. The rooms division is, in turn, divided into 4 basic functions: front office, housekeeping, maintenance and security. The vertical connecting lines of the chart are also lines of authority and reporting. So, for example, reservations staff report to the front office manager, who reports to the rooms division manager, or, to look at it another way, policies and instructions flow down from the rooms division manager to front office staff. The connecting lines of the chart are also lines of communication and liaison. So, for example, it is clear from our chart that staff in the reservations, reception and cashier sections need to communicate with each other. Each contributes something to the overall work of the front office. At the same time, there is a line connecting reception and maintenance, say, if a guest comes to reception and says that her TV isn't working, or her window doesn't open, reception will have to liaise with maintenance to make sure it gets fixed. Objectives. In this chapter you will learn to: what facilities are required to attract business guests? Facilities offered in a guest business center. How to offer communication assistance for foreign guests. How to respond to guest information requests. Communication systems used in and by hotels. How to manage a hotel switchboard and take guest messages. How to handle incoming and outgoing mail for guests. Telephone services. One of the most important duties of front office is to answer the phone on behalf of the hotel, and either deal with the inquiries or issues raised by the caller, for example, give information or take a reservation, or transfer the call to the person or extension requested, whether a staff member or a guest, or transfer the call to the most appropriate person or department to help the caller, or take messages if required. In a larger hotel, there will usually be a separate switchboard operator or telephonist to perform all these tasks. In smaller hotels, the receptionist may answer the phone alongside her other duties, and particular care will have to be taken to avoid sounding irritated or confused by the interruption. As with guests calling in person at the front desk, every telephone caller will expect to be greeted courteously and professionally and given the telephonist's full and undivided attention for the duration of the call. Managing the switchboard. Basic requirements and techniques that should be observed. Every incoming telephone call should be answered promptly and with an appropriate greeting. Good morning. The Hilltown Hotel. You're speaking to Joe. How can I help you? The switchboard operator should have immediate access to a directory of in-house extensions, to transfer calls to the requested person, a guest index, an alphabetical list of guests, by name, showing their room numbers, extensions and dates of stay, in order to put calls through to guest rooms, and arrivals and departure lists, in order to deal with calls for guests who have not yet arrived or checked out. The connecting lines of the chart are also lines of communication and liaison. So, for example, it is clear from our chart that staff in the reservations, reception and cashier sections need to communicate with each other. Each contributes something to the overall work of the front office. At the same time, there is a line connecting reception and maintenance. Say, if a guest comes to reception and says that her TV isn't working, or her window doesn't open, reception will have to liaise with maintenance to make sure it gets fixed. We will look at how front office liaises with the other departments of hotel in more detail later. Objectives. In this chapter you will learn to: what facilities are required to attract business guests? Facilities offered in a guest business center. How to offer communication assistance for foreign guests. How to respond to guest information requests. Communication systems used in and by hotels. How to manage a hotel switchboard and take guest messages. How to handle incoming and outgoing mail for guests. Telephone services. One of the most important duties of front office is to answer the phone on behalf of the hotel, and either deal with the inquiries or issues raised by the caller, for example, give information or take a reservation, or transfer the call to the person or extension requested, whether a staff member or a guest, or transfer the call to the most appropriate person or department to help the caller, or take messages if required. In a larger hotel, there will usually be a separate switchboard operator or telephonist to perform all these tasks. In smaller hotels, the receptionist may answer the phone alongside her other duties, and particular care will have to be taken to avoid sounding irritated or confused by the interruption. As with guests calling in person at the front desk, every telephone caller will expect to be greeted courteously and professionally and given the telephonist's full and undivided attention for the duration of the call. Managing the switchboard. Basic requirements and techniques that should be observed. Every incoming telephone call should be answered promptly and with an appropriate greeting. Good morning. The Hilltown Hotel. You're speaking to Joe. How can I help you? The switchboard operator should have immediate access to a directory of in-house extensions, to transfer calls to the requested person, a guest index, an alphabetical list of guests, by name, showing their room numbers, extensions and dates of stay, in order to put calls through to guest rooms, and arrivals and departure lists, in order to deal with calls for guests who have not yet arrived or checked out. The switchboard operator should be familiar with the procedures for dealing with different types of calls, to whom different types of inquiries should be transferred, what information about guests can be given out to callers, if any, how to deal with common switchboard problems, for example disconnected calls, unobtainable numbers, engaged numbers, how to provide particular switchboard services, for example directory inquiries or reverse charges or collect calls, and how to take messages or connect callers to voicemail facilities. Managing the switchboard continued. Callers should not be left on hold indefinitely, if the extension to which a call has been put through is not being answered, or if the switchboard operator puts a caller on hold while making inquiries or handling other calls. The operator should return regularly to an on-hold caller, keeping him informed of progress. "I'm sorry, there's no answer on that extension," or "I'm sorry to keep you waiting," etc., and offering options where possible. "Would you like to leave a message? Or can I get Ms. X to call you back when she becomes available?" When transferring a call to another department, the switchboard operator should ascertain the caller's name and purpose for calling, and pass this on to the target recipient, so that callers don't have to repeat themselves. Incoming calls for guests. The first requirement for putting incoming calls through to guests is for switchboard to be able to locate the guests' room numbers swiftly and efficiently. In a manual system, this requires a printed guest index. In a computerized system, the operator can simply type in the guest's name, and the room number will come up on screen. If a guest does not answer the incoming call, if the call is urgent, it may be possible to try and locate the guest and inform him of the call, by paging. A member of uniformed staff may be sent round the public areas of the hotel calling paging Mr. X, or the hotel might have a public address system for this purpose, or a message could be sent through to the restaurateur asking them to inquire after the guest in their areas. Some hotels offer personal pagers, messaging devices, to guests who are expecting an important call, or the guest may simply keep reception informed of his whereabouts, so that he can be notified when the call comes in. The caller may be offered the option of leaving a message for the guest, either in person with the switchboard operator, who writes down the message to be passed on to the guest, or via a recorded voicemail option on the telephone system. The telephone system of the hotel may offer individual voicemail, which allows callers to leave recorded messages. A message waiting alert is shown on the in-room phone, and the guest can dial in his or her extension, or a pre-allocated access code, to retrieve the message. In a computerized system, the switchboard operator may type messages into the message area of the system, for subsequent printing out or transmission to the guest. Message log screen, in Fidelio. This will be particularly helpful when one shift hands over to another, avoid messages being forgotten. Outgoing calls by guests. Outgoing calls are different from incoming calls. In the past, outgoing calls had to be placed on the guest's behalf by a switchboard operator. Now all hotels have PAB systems which allow guests to dial out directly from their in-room telephone extensions, for room-to-room, outside line and even international calls. So the telephonist may not be involved in that. He will only handle incoming calls. While incoming calls are generally free to the guest, paid for by the caller, outgoing calls cost the hotel money. The costs of calls must be recovered by charging guests, and, since the ability to make calls is a service provided by the hotel will often take a profit margin, or markup, on tile call charge. This can be a significant source of extra revenue, but it does raise several issues. The cost of calls from hotel phones is often a cause of surprise and resentment to guests. The basis on which calls are charged should be clearly stated, as part of in-room information, and ideally, together with instructions for making outgoing calls. Guests may need information and assistance about how to obtain outside lines from the hotel system, information on area and international dial-in codes, and so on. Instructions are often provided in-room information packages, but even so, some guests may ask Switchboard for assistance. There needs to be a system for logging calls, time/date, duration of call, number dialed, so that appropriate charges can be made, verified by the guest, and proved in case of billing queries. Most PAB systems now include facilities for call logging, and a hotel management system may include facilities for call logging and automatic posting of telephone charges to guest bills. If guests have limited credit facilities within the hotel, there needs to be some system for barring extensions from making calls, or expensive types of call, for example national or international calls. This can be done automatically in a PAB or computerized system. Front office staff may need to call out from the hotel for a range of purposes, to return calls by inquirers or travel agencies after gathering information, to reconfirm bookings or notify guests of changes, for example, the need to relocate a guest because of overbooking, to make calls on behalf of guests, for example to call a taxi or doctor, or to make travel, entertainment or restaurant bookings. Basic telephone technique will apply to these calls. Make them as efficient as possible, because they cost the hotel money. Have all necessary information to hand before you dial. Record the call, what information has been given, what has been agreed or promised, etc. This is important for bookings, negotiate rates, notified changes, etc., which may be queried or disputed later. If you promise to call someone back with information or a decision, do so within the promised time, or take steps to ensure that someone else do so, for example, by leaving a note on the shift handover log. Guests may ask front office staff to arrange for outgoing mail, and receptionists will need to be familiar with the requirements, speed, security and cost of different types of service available: ordinary post, special delivery, registered post, recorded delivery, courier services, etc. A large hotel will potentially have a high volume of incoming and outgoing mail to be sorted and processed. In such a case, there will probably be a dedicated back-office mailroom, where all the various operations can be handled discreetly and efficiently. Handling incoming mail and messages. Incoming mail will be sorted and divided into three basic categories: hotel mail, which needs to be distributed to the relevant departments or individuals direct from the mail desk or mail room; staff mail, which may be distributed via departments or staff room mail racks; and guest mail, which needs to be processed for distribution to guests. All incoming mail should be date/time stamped on arrival and sorting, so that there is no possibility of the dispute about when the mail arrived, for example, in the case of a reservation or cancellation notice, or how long it took the hotel to pass mail on to a guest, in case of problems resulting from any delay. The next step is to distribute mail and messages to the target recipient. If the guest is listed in the guest index as currently resident, mail or messages may be delivered directly to the guest's room, for example if the hotel has pages available for this purpose, especially if the item is marked urgent, or cannot be received by a third party, i.e. it requires the recipient's signature and proof of identity before it is handed over. Placed in key pigeonholes or mail racks. In an old-fashioned system, there may be a rack of pigeonholes at reception to hold both mail/messages and keys for each room. Whenever the receptionist takes charge of a guest's keys, or hands them out, there is the opportunity to check for mail and messages and give them to the guest. Held at front office, for example if the item is too large to fit in a key/mail rack. A note, or special mail advice slip, may be placed in the key rack to alert the receptionist to the fact that the item is awaiting collection. The receptionist may telephone, or leave a message alert on the phone, to notify the guest that there is a message or mail awaiting collection. If mail arrives for guests whose names are not on the current guest index, the mail handler checks the arrivals list and/or the reservation records. If the guest is expected, but has not yet arrived, the mail can be held at front office, a mail advice slip or message added to the guest's reservation file, to alert front desk that ma awaiting the guest when he checks in. If the guest has already left the hotel, mail can be forwarded to the guest's address, as found on the registration card. If a departing guest expects mail, he may be asked to fill out a mail forwarding form, with a forwarding address, a request to forward mail for a specified period, and perhaps an authorization for the hotel to charge any costs incurred. A log should be kept of all mail forwarded to guests, in case of subsequent queries and disputes. Secured mail. Secured mail, such as registered mail or courier deliveries, may be urgent or contain valuable items or documents. It will generally require a signature upon receipt, and in some circumstances may only be signed for by the target recipient, on proof of identity. If a front office staff member signs for a piece of mail, its safe delivery becomes the responsibility of the hotel, so only trustworthy staff members should be authorized to sign for, and take custody of, such deliveries. The hotel should keep a log of secure mail received, including the registration number, date/time received, addressee, date collected and guest signature, to confirm receipt. Secure mail should be regarded as valuable and placed in the hotel safe or a locked drawer. A mail advice message should be immediately left or sent to the guest. Guests should be asked to sign for the item on the collection, showing proof of identity. Mail services. Handling outgoing mail. The front desk may have the responsibility of collecting all mail being sent out from the various departments of the hotel, arranging for delivery to the post office, and recording postage charges. This may involve mail sorting, weighing, since postage is calculated by weight, affixing stamps or using a franking machine, illustrated, to stamp envelopes as postage paid, by prior arrangement with the post office. Delivering mail to the post office, or arranging for its collection. Recording the quantity and cost of mail sent out. The executive floor or executive lounge. A hotel may offer a dedicated floor, block or area of the hotel specifically to suit their needs. It may include accommodation specially customized for business travelers, with extra space for work, in-room internet access, for laptop users, and extra power points, for equipment. Executive-grade rooms may also offer extra amenities for personal grooming, for example, clothes pressing, hair dryers, extra coat hangers, and perhaps also after-work relaxation and pampering, for example, in-room movies, bathrobe and slippers, upgraded toiletries. Client entertainment and business networking areas may be provided, for example, in an executive lounge, for the exclusive use of guests of the executive floor. A lounge may offer clusters of chairs, all-day refreshments, for example, tea and coffee, and snacks. The refreshments area may also offer continental breakfast for executive floor guests in the morning, and evening bar service. Executive facilities may also offer special services, private check-in and check-out at a separate reception desk or in the executive lounge, and dedicated concierge service, to facilitate corporate travelers. The executive floor may also house the hotel's business center, with conference and meeting rooms, office equipment, phones, fax machine, photocopier, internet-linked computer terminals, and even secretarial services, where required. The guest business center. Whether or not such extensive facilities are made available, on an exclusive basis, to designated executive travelers, the hotel may offer business center facilities which are accessible to all guests on request. A hotel business center might offer services and facilities including desks or workstations, photocopying services or self-service photocopiers, incoming and outgoing fax services or self-service fax machines, binders, laminators and other document preparation services / equipment hire of a data projector, for presentations, access to computer terminals with fast internet access and peripherals, scanners and printers, courier booking service, for sending urgent and valuable documents and parcels, business stationery, meeting rooms and meeting areas, secretarial support services, for example, dictation, typing, document preparation, copying and so on. Guest internet access and email facilities. Many guests will want to use the internet to stay in touch with friends and family, view and share digital holiday photographs, confirm flights, search for travel and local information, make travel and entertainment bookings, or simply supplement the in-room entertainment provided by the hotel. Many larger hotels offer internet access and email facilities, even if they do not have business centers. There may be internet desks or kiosks in the reception or lounge area of the hotel, allowing guests to use computer terminals at an advertised rate per block of time. This may be paid for with a credit card, inserted or swiped on logging onto the terminal, or may be logged and charged to the guest's account, by arrangement with reception. There may be in-room internet access, with telecommunications points into which guests can plug their laptops. Use of this system may be automatically logged and changed to guests, in the same way as telephone calls using the hotel's system, on an advertised cost-per-minute basis. Types of information provided by front office. Front office staff will need a good level of knowledge about the hotel, its services, amenities, policies and charges. If guests want to know how to go about depositing articles in the hotel safe, or what time the restaurant opens, or where to find a courtesy phone, this information should be readily available. Information about the local area, tourist attractions, activities and venues is often made available for guests at the inquiries desk, or via information displays in the reception area. Guests may be offered maps, tourist guides, brochures etc., or referred to the information on display, although not in such a way as to imply, "Why ask me? The information's over there." Some information may not be quite so straightforward. Guests may want to know how long it will take to get to the nearest airport by taxi, or may ask for a restaurant recommendation in the local area, or want directions to a sporting or entertainment venue. Front office staff should anticipate these kinds of questions, and be prepared to give appropriate answers. Some service staff tend to give inquirers the answer they think they want to hear, even if the information is inaccurate or incorrect. Hotel front office staff should always think carefully about what will serve the interests of the guest best, and protect the hotel. Be honest if you don't know, are expressing an opinion, or can't guarantee your information, but offer information where you think it will be helpful. Front office staff will not know the answer to all queries. For example, a guest may want to know the times of services at a particular place of worship, or how to find a specialist shop or activity in the area, or the phone number of an emergency dentist. In such cases, the staff member should offer to look up or find out the information for the guest, in front office directories, on the internet, or by telephone inquiry. Looking up information for guests. Common information requests and reference resources may include the following: transport printed timetables/schedules for buses, trains and airlines, telephone directory for bus, train, airline and taxi providers, direct telephone link to local/preferred taxi companies. Entertainment and tourism. Directory of restaurants, cafes, clubs, entertainment venues, cinemas, theaters, sports venues, sporting facilities, golf/tennis clubs, water sport providers, etc. Directory of local travel agents and tour operators. What's on? Guides provided by local tourism offices, destination marketers, newspapers and so on. Programs for local cinemas and theaters. Brochures provided by entertainment venues, tour companies etc. Directory and/or brochures of sister hotels and other hotels, for onward travel arrangements. A&RAC handbooks, covering UK regions, towns and cities, hotels, restaurants and entertainment venues, transport service, road maps, and their equivalents in other countries. Local facilities and amenities. Directory of local hairdressers, chemists/pharmacies, doctors, dentists, banks, shopping centers. Street maps of the town/city and local area. General information. Directory of the embassies, consulates and passport offices of different nations. Listings of selected local places of worship, with contact numbers and service times. Local telephone directories and business directories, for example. The white pages and yellow pages, local, national and international newspapers, available for reference or purchase, the post office guide, to postal services, rates and regulations. Communication assistance for foreign guests. Some hotels make special efforts to assist foreign guests who may not speak the local language. The hotel may seek to employ multilingual staff in front office roles, that is, who speaks more than one language. For example, hotels in non-English speaking countries often seek to employ staff who can speak English, since this will be the first or second language of a high proportion of guests from various countries. If the hotel has identified a high proportion of its guests as being of a particular origin, it may seek to employ staff who can communicate in their language. It may also have key documents and welcome packs prepared in their language, to assist them through the main procedures of the guest cycle. For example, in Sydney, Australia, many large hotels cater for Japanese travelers in this way, because of the high proportion of Japanese corporate and leisure trade. The hotel may be able to offer translation and interpretation services, by arrangement with specialist outside agencies, for conferences, business meetings, special functions, for example, weddings or VIP guests. Communication in hotels. Communication is one of the key tasks of front office staff, and one of the key skill sets that needs to develop, in order to work successfully in the field. A wide range of written and verbal, person-to-person or telephone, messages have already considered which needs to flow between front office and management, front office and other departments, and between front office and guests. What we haven't yet considered is the flow of communication between guests and other guests, and between guests and the outside world beyond the hotel. Access to such communication facilities is part of the service offered by the hotel, and for some customers, such as business travelers, it may be an important and valuable one. Telephone systems. The telephone is now the most common system for most immediate communication applications, both within the hotel and with the outside world. The telephone is fast, interactive, allowing for convenient exchange of information and question and answer, and personal. It allows direct person-to-person contact and the use of social skills, which makes it particularly good for customer service, selling and the handling of awkward situations like complaints or giving bad news. At the same time, it allows remote communication whether from office to office or room to room or across the world. A wide range of telephone equipment, and related services and facilities, is now available to cater for different-sized establishments with communication needs of varying complexity. Because of the need to control calls, a hotel would typically operate on a switchboard system, either routing all calls through a central operator or handling incoming external calls only, in which case individual extensions will dial each other and connect to outside lines. The most common system is a private automatic branch exchange (PABX) system. This allows direct dialing between internal extensions, i.e. from department to department and room to room, direct dialing out from extensions, and access to the switchboard operator or telephonist if required. A large PAB system would have a centralized switchboard with one or more operators. The system can also be computerized, or linked into the hotel management system, for automatic facilities such as, taking voicemail messages, programming in automated early morning alarm calls, logging of guest telephone calls and call charges etc. In addition, a range of other telecommunications facilities may be used in a hotel, such as mobile telecommunications, cordless phones, mobile telephones, walkie-talkies and pagers, so that staff members can keep in contact with each other while on the move or contact mobile staff, such as housekeepers, porters and drivers. Guests in room phones may also be cordless, so that they can move around the room while making or taking a call. Answering and messaging services, for example, answer machines, voicemail, SMS messaging and mobile email may be used to take inquiries, pass on messages for guests, or send quick requests and reminders. To mobile staff. Telephone conferencing, from basic speakerphones to multiple party calls, allowing virtual telephone meetings between different departments or offices, when required. Facsimile Transfer Fax. A fax machine is like a cross between a scanner and a telephone. You feed documents into the machine, which scans them, transmits the data down the telecommunications link, and reproduces them on a similar machine at the other end. Faxes can also be sent from computer terminals. Fax is very useful in business settings because it enables you to send hard copy written or printed documents more or less instantly to remote locations, where before you might have had to send them by mail. For example, can be used to send urgent booking forms, confirmation letters, maps and other information to guests. Similarly, prospective guests and agencies will often use fax to send booking confirmations and rooming lists to a hotel swiftly. Basically, you prepare the documents, with a fax cover/header sheet, dial the recipient's fax number on the phone part of the machine, wait for a connection, and then feed the pages in the machine, which should mark them in some way, or otherwise notify the user that the page has gone through. Machine will generally then print out a report showing date/time, duration of call and number of pages successfully, or an error report. Internet and email. Many hotels will create a virtual communications hub on the internet by having their own website. The site may be used simply to advertise the hotel, although this can be done in very creative ways, for example, by allowing virtual tours of the hotel. It may also allow prospective guests and inquirers to download brochures and forms, to send emails to the hotel, and perhaps also to access the hotel reservations system, to check room availability and make reservations. An email has replaced letters, memos, faxes and even telephone calls as the swiftest, cheapest, most flexible and convenient method of communication both within hotels and between hotels and the outside world, at least in countries where the internet is available. Email messages are typed into the sender's computer, using special software programs, and are then sent to the recipient's email address where they await collection in an electronic mailbox or inbox. Email offers many advantages for internal and external communication. Messages can be sent and received very fast, worldwide, and regardless of time zones and office hours, since the systems work 24/7, and messages await collection at the recipient's convenience. Email is highly economical, estimated 20 times cheaper than fax, often allowing worldwide transmission for the cost of a local telephone call, connecting to the local service point of the Internet service provider. The recipient can print out a hard copy of the message and/or documents attached to the message, and the sender has documentary evidence of having sent the message, and, where requested, of the recipient having received it, in case of subsequent queries or disputes. Email message management software, such as Outlook Express, has convenient features such as message copying to multiple recipients, integration with an address book, database of contacts, stationery, allowing the hotel's letterhead to be used, facilities for mail organization and filing, etc. Paper-based written communication. Hotels will also use a variety of more old-fashioned paper-based communications, sent via the internal mail delivery system, for example forms, reports and messages, or via the external postal system, for example brochures, confirmation letters, reservation forms, vouchers, copies of accounts, feedback forms and other documentation exchanged with guests. In order to be effective in a front office role, you will need to become familiar with, and proficient and professional in the use of, a range of written formats. Each hotel will have its own standard forms, documents and house style of communication. Face-to-face communication. In addition, hotels will use a variety of face-to-face communication mechanisms, such as meetings, for example, staff meetings, shift handover meetings, management meetings. Interviews, for example, staff selection, appraisal or disciplinary interviews. Presentations, for example, for staff training or for selling the hotel to travel agencies or corporate clients. Person-to-person discussions and information exchanges of all kinds, especially front office service interactions with guests. Face-to-face communication is particularly effective in hospitality situations. It allows non-verbal cues, both audible, for example, tone of voice, and visual, body language, to be used to enhance understanding, communication and persuasion. It allows for immediate interaction, on-the-spot exchange of questions and answers, for example. It humanizes communication, allowing personal rapport to be established and social skills to be used. This is particularly helpful for managing sensitive or awkward situations, but it is also a key ingredient in providing hospitality and personal service to guests. Communication services for guests. A hotel's guests may be far from family, friends and business networks, and they will often want to maintain these connections while they travel. In addition, they may need access to communication facilities in order to organize travel and entertainment, arrange to meet people, use the internet, etc. Communication services are thus an important part of a hotel's total package of benefits for guests. Main communication services provided through front office. Guest telephone services. Guest mail services. Business services. Information services.